Scientists still have not been able to explain this mysterious photo, which is considered real, but they have even more questions about the photos you are about to see. A quiet day in the wilderness turned into something out of a sci-fi nightmare. On May 20th, 1967, Stefan Michalak, an amateur geologist, was out prospecting near Falcon Lake, Manitoba. The area was peaceful, the kind of place where nothing unusual ever happens. That changed when Michalak noticed two glowing cigar-shaped objects descending from the sky. One landed just yards away, while the other disappeared into the clouds. Thinking it might be a secret military aircraft, he cautiously approached. The craft was smooth, metallic, and eerily silent. As he got closer, he heard muffled voices from inside. Were they speaking a foreign language? He never figured that out, because the moment he touched the surface it burned his glove. Then, without warning, the object emitted a blast of heat, knocking him to the ground. The aftermath was even stranger. Michalak staggered away, disoriented and sick. A bizarre grid-like burn pattern appeared across his chest, as if he had been branded. His hair began falling out, and he suffered from nausea and weight loss for weeks. Doctors had no explanation. Radiation tests at the site showed elevated levels, but the Canadian government quickly closed the investigation, labeling it unexplained. UFO researchers have pointed to the burns as undeniable proof of a close encounter. Skeptics claim it was nothing more than a hallucination or an accident with a hot exhaust vent. Yet no aircraft of that design has ever been identified. The original sketches, photos of his injuries, and the eerie burn marks in the soil remain. Whatever landed at Falcon Lake left behind more than just a mystery. It left behind scars. Some discoveries make headlines, others disappear into whispered rumors and blurry photographs. In 1988, Swiss entrepreneur Gregor Spory traveled to Egypt, drawn by the allure of its ancient wonders. What he found was something that shouldn't exist. Through a local contact, he was shown a relic unlike any other. A mummified human finger, but far larger than anything human. It was 15 inches long, wrapped in old, decaying bandages, with cracked skin and a broken nail. The photograph Spory took captures it lying next to a banknote for scale, and that's where the mystery deepens. If it's real, the person it belonged to would have stood over 16 feet tall. Scientists have dismissed the idea of ancient giants, yet here was a physical piece of evidence that never made its way into any museum. Spory was never allowed to take the finger for testing. The man who owned it claimed it had been passed down for generations and refused to reveal its origin. No further evidence has ever surfaced. Some believe it was a hoax, a clever piece of anatomical trickery. Others see it as proof that history is hiding something, an unknown species, an ancient race wiped from existence, or even something far stranger. If this relic was real, where is the rest of the body? And why has no institution stepped forward to investigate? The only thing left behind is Spory's photograph, an unsettling reminder that some things are seen once and never again. Artifacts from the past usually follow a pattern. They age, decay, and fit neatly into their historical context. That's why a discovery in 2008 sent shockwaves through the archaeology world. In a 400-year-old Ming Dynasty tomb, sealed tight for centuries, researchers uncovered something that shouldn't have been there. Among the artifacts was a tiny golden timepiece, no bigger than a ring. What made it impossible? It had the words Swiss engraved on it. The hands of the watch were frozen at 10:06, as if the moment it was buried had somehow been captured in time. The tomb, undisturbed since its construction, should have contained nothing of modern origin. Yet, here it was, a watch, centuries ahead of its time. Photographs of the object quickly spread, fueling theories ranging from secret time travelers to misplaced relics from an advanced lost civilization. Skeptics argue that it could have been a modern piece, accidentally dropped by a researcher before the site was fully excavated. But how did it end up inside a sealed tomb? And why was it so perfectly placed among ancient treasures? The Chinese government swiftly classified the site, restricting further access. To this day, the photographs remain the only proof that it ever existed. A glitch in history, an elaborate mistake, or something far beyond explanation? If time travel ever leaves a trace, it might look exactly like this. When NASA sends rovers to Mars, the expectation is to see rocks, dust, and the desolate Martian landscape. What no one expected was a shadow that shouldn't be there. In 2017, one of NASA's Mars rovers, Curiosity, captured a routine image of the planet's surface. At first glance, it looked like any other. But when people examined the photo closely, they noticed something strange, a dark, human-like figure standing near the rover. It wasn't just a trick of the light. The shadow had a defined head, shoulders, and even what appeared to be an outstretched arm. It looked eerily similar to a human working on the rover, despite the fact that no human has ever set foot on Mars. NASA has never officially commented on the figure. Some believe it's a case of pareidolia, the brain seeing familiar shapes and random patterns. Others suggest it could be the shadow of the rover itself, distorted by the angle of the sun. But not everyone is convinced. Theories range from classified missions already on Mars to evidence that someone, or something, was watching the rover from a distance. If this was just an illusion, why has no other rover image shown a shadow quite like this? Whatever the explanation, the photograph remains one of the most debated pieces of Martian imagery ever taken. Something was there. What it was, that's a question no one seems eager to answer. Deep in the Ecuadorian jungle, hidden beneath thick vegetation, lies Tayos Cave, a labyrinth of tunnels stretching for miles underground. For centuries, local legends spoke of an ancient subterranean world, home to lost civilizations and something even more extraordinary. In 1969, an expedition led by Juan Morich set out to explore the cave's depths. What they found, if the photographs are real, defies everything we know about history. Inside the cave, they claim to have discovered a vast metallic library filled with books made from solid sheets of gold, engraved with an unknown language. Alongside them, artifacts of incredible craftsmanship, unlike anything attributed to early South American cultures. The photographs taken inside show unusual structures, smooth walls, and geometric patterns that look almost artificial. This alone was enough to raise eyebrows, but the story took an even stranger turn in 1976, when astronaut Neil Armstrong himself joined a second expedition. What exactly was found during that mission remains classified, fueling endless speculation. Some believe the cave hides evidence of a pre-human civilization, one with technology beyond its time. Others think the metallic books hold the lost knowledge of an unknown past, kept secret from the world. But despite multiple visits, the cave's deepest chambers remain off-limits and no official record of the metal books has ever been produced. Were they taken? Were they even real? The photos that exist raise more questions than they answer. And whatever secrets still lie beneath the jungle, it seems no one wants them to be found. It was the middle of the night when air raid sirens blared across Los Angeles. The date was February 25, 1942, and the United States was on edge, just weeks after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Spotlights cut through the sky, illuminating a strange, hovering object above the city. Military forces responded immediately, unleashing a barrage of anti-aircraft fire, with over 1,400 rounds shot into the sky. Yet, despite the heavy firepower, the object remained in place, unaffected, before finally vanishing without a trace. The following morning, a now famous photograph appeared in the Los Angeles Times, a chilling black and white image of multiple spotlights converging on an eerie, unidentified shape. The official explanation? The military claimed it was a false alarm, possibly triggered by a stray weather balloon or misidentified aircraft. But that didn't add up. Witnesses across the city swore they had seen something massive, metallic, and slow-moving. And if it was just a weather balloon, why didn't it collapse under the relentless fire? Some believe the event was a UFO sighting covered up by the government. Others suggest it was an experimental aircraft, decades ahead of its time, tested under the cover of wartime paranoia. The original photo, analyzed for years, still shows an object at its center, one that shouldn't have been there. To this day, the Battle of Los Angeles remains one of the most compelling mass UFO sightings in history. At first it seemed like a joke. A satellite image of Antarctica showing something that shouldn't exist. A perfect pyramid-shaped structure emerging from the ice. The discovery, spotted on Google Earth in 2016, sent conspiracy forums into a frenzy. The pyramid wasn't just vaguely triangular, its edges were unnaturally straight, its symmetry too precise to be a natural formation. If the images were real, this meant one of two things. Either an ancient civilization once built structures in Antarctica or something else had shaped it, something no one was ready to explain. Skeptics argue that the so-called pyramid is nothing more than a nunatak, a natural rock formation exposed above the ice. But if that were the case, why does it resemble the pyramids of Giza so closely? Some researchers have pointed out that Antarctica wasn't always frozen. Millions of years ago, it had a temperate climate, possibly supporting life. Could this be evidence of an advanced civilization that existed before recorded history? Or is there something buried beneath the ice, waiting to be uncovered? The Google Earth images are still there, free for anyone to examine. But beyond the satellite photos, the site remains untouched, unexplored, sealed under the ice like a secret the Earth refuses to reveal. Some mysteries aren't hidden in ancient texts or remote jungles, some are sitting right in plain sight, if you know where to look. In 2016, Google Earth users discovered something unusual beneath the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Mexico. It wasn't a random rock formation or an ordinary deep-sea trench, it was something that looked artificial. A structure so massive that it stretched over 2.3 miles across. The satellite images clearly showed what appeared to be geometric patterns, lines too straight to be natural, as if the remains of something enormous were resting at the bottom of the ocean. Theories exploded almost immediately. Some suggested that this could be the lost city of Atlantis, finally discovered in the depths. Others speculated that it might be a secret underwater base built by governments, or something not from this world. The most skeptical explanations pointed to underwater ridges or digital glitches, dismissing the find as nothing more than an error in mapping software. But here's the thing. Google Earth glitches usually repeat, yet this structure remained consistent over time. If it were just a digital artifact, why hadn't it disappeared like other mapping errors? No official expedition has ever been sent to investigate. The location remains unexplored, a silent anomaly beneath the waves. And unless someone takes the risk to go down there, it will remain just that, an unanswered question lurking in the deep. Florida's swamps hide more than just alligators. In 2000, a series of disturbing photographs emerged from Sarasota County, sent anonymously to the sheriff's department. The images showed a large, ape-like creature, its eyes reflecting the camera's flash in the darkness. Unlike a typical primate, this thing had massive shoulders, long arms, and a face that looked eerily human. The anonymous sender claimed that the creature had been roaming their backyard at night, tearing into garbage cans, leaving behind a putrid stench. The photographs quickly gained national attention, reviving old local legends of the skunk ape, Florida's version of Bigfoot. The photos are still some of the clearest cryptid evidence ever captured. But what's even stranger is that similar reports of a foul-smelling shaggy beast go back decades. Sightings stretch from the Everglades to the Panhandle, always describing the same thing: an intelligent creature that moves fast, avoids humans, and smells like rotting vegetation. Theories range from an undiscovered primate species to a government cover-up of genetic experiments gone wrong. Skeptics argue that it's simply a misidentified bear or an escaped exotic pet, but here's the problem. No known species matches the proportions in the photographs. If the skunk ape is just a myth, why does it keep appearing? And why do so many reports come from people with nothing to gain? The mystery lingers, trapped in the muggy heat of the Florida swamps. Small towns tend to have their share of legends, but in 1903, the town of Van Meter, Iowa, didn't just get a story, it got a nightmare. For several nights, terrified residents claimed to see a massive winged creature, unlike anything known to science. It stood taller than a man with leathery wings, a beak-like mouth, and a blinding, glowing light on its forehead. The thing wasn't just seen, it was attacked. Armed citizens fired at it, but bullets had no effect. The creature didn't even flinch before flying off into the darkness. Then, something even stranger happened. Locals tracked it to an abandoned mine shaft on the outskirts of town. That's where they saw not one, but two creatures, both enormous, both emitting a beam of light from their heads. The next morning, the mine was found sealed shut, as if someone, or something, had closed it from the inside. The only evidence that remains is a handful of newspaper articles and a few eerie, century-old photographs of the mine itself. Was this some kind of undiscovered species, a paranormal entity, or something even more unexplainable? Whatever took place in Van Meter over a century ago, the town never saw the creature again, and that may be the most unsettling part of all. Egypt's ancient temples are filled with hieroglyphs, each telling the story of a civilization that lasted for thousands of years. But one particular engraving in the Temple of Seti I in Abydos stands out, not because of what it says, but because of what it shows. The carving appears to depict modern-day flying machines. Clear as day, there's the outline of a helicopter, a shape that resembles a fighter jet, and what some say looks like a hovering spaceship. The photos of these engravings have fueled decades of speculation. How could an ancient civilization, thousands of years before the Wright brothers, possibly know about aircraft? Some suggest the carvings are evidence of lost technology, proof that humanity has risen and fallen before. Others believe they point to ancient extraterrestrial visitors who may have introduced early humans to advanced knowledge. Of course, archaeologists have a more grounded explanation. They claim the unusual shapes are simply the result of overlapping hieroglyphs, where one inscription was recarved over another, unintentionally forming new images. But if that's true, why do the shapes so perfectly match modern aircraft? Even if it's all coincidence, the photos don't lie. The carvings are real, and no explanation fully dismisses the eerie feeling that someone, thousands of years ago, knew more than they should have. Cathedrals are time capsules. Built over centuries, they hold on to the past, preserving history in stone and stained glass. That's why visitors to the new Cathedral of Salamanca in Spain were left stunned when they noticed something completely out of place, a carving of an astronaut among the traditional Gothic and Renaissance sculptures. The figure is unmistakable, a fully suited astronaut complete with a helmet, oxygen tubes, and even a visor. The photos taken by tourists quickly spread, leaving many asking the same question: how did a modern astronaut end up in a centuries-old cathedral? The official explanation is simple. In 1992, during restoration work, sculptors decided to add a modern touch, something symbolic of the new era. It was meant as a creative addition, not a mystery. But some aren't convinced. If this carving was just added in the 90s, why have some visitors claimed to have seen it before then? Could the restoration story be a cover-up for something much older? Conspiracy theories claim this could be evidence of time travel, or even proof that humans have known about space travel for far longer than history admits. While experts dismiss such ideas, the photos remain, and so does the strange feeling that maybe, just maybe, history isn't as linear as we think. A quiet Midwestern town, a string of late-night attacks, and an invisible assailant who was never caught. In 1944, Mattoon, Illinois, became the center of one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in American history. Residents reported waking up in the middle of the night to the overwhelming scent of sweet, noxious gas. Moments later they would feel paralyzed, dizzy, unable to move. Some victims even reported a shadowy figure fleeing into the darkness. By the time authorities arrived, the attacker was gone, leaving only faint footprints and the lingering scent of chemicals behind. Newspapers quickly dubbed the mystery attacker the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, and hysteria swept through the town. Over 24 cases were reported in just a few weeks, some victims even showing signs of chemical exposure. Photos of the alleged crime scenes, empty streets, darkened windows, footprints leading nowhere, only added to the paranoia. Theories exploded. Some believed it was a deranged scientist testing experimental chemicals. Others thought it was an escaped war criminal using some unknown weapon. But despite an intensive police investigation, no suspect was ever caught. Was it a real-life supervillain, a mass hallucination, or a bizarre urban legend that got out of hand? Whatever the truth, the Mad Gasser was never seen again. But his story remains one of the most chilling and unexplained crime sprees in American history. Churches are places of peace, but some also hold something else, something unseen. In 1975, a family visiting St. Mary's Church in Worstead, England, captured a photograph that still baffles experts today. The picture, taken inside the church, shows a man sitting on a wooden pew, smiling at the camera. But behind him, there's someone else. A faint, ghostly figure dressed in a flowing white robe staring straight ahead. No one in the family had noticed anything strange at the time, but when they developed the film, they were shocked. The white lady wasn't just a trick of the light, her face, posture, and clothing were all clearly visible. Local legend speaks of a ghostly woman who appears in the church to comfort the sick. Some believe she is the spirit of a healer who lived centuries ago, forever watching over those who enter. But was this just an optical illusion, or did the camera capture something beyond explanation? The family insisted that no one else had been in the church that day. The original photo remains one of the clearest ghost images ever taken, with no confirmed explanation. If it was just a coincidence, why has the same figure been seen by others in the same place for centuries? A bottomless pit, a government cover-up, and a story that vanishes as quickly as it appears. The legend of Mel's Hole is one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in modern folklore. It all started in the 1990s, when a man named Mel Waters called into a late-night radio show, claiming to have discovered a hole on his property that seemed to defy all logic. According to him, the hole was at least 80,000 feet deep, and anything thrown inside was never heard from again. No echo, no impact, just endless darkness. And then it got even weirder. Mel said he had seen locals lowering a dead dog into the hole, only for the same dog to be spotted alive days later, wandering nearby. Testing with fishing lines showed that no one could find the bottom. The weight just kept dropping. Then, suddenly, Mel was approached by government agents who sealed off the area, took his land, and allegedly paid him to leave the country. Satellite images failed to show any massive hole in the area he described near Ellensburg, Washington, and no official records of Mel Waters exist. But photographs of deep, perfectly circular holes in the region keep surfacing, each sparking new theories. Was this a natural phenomenon, a military experiment, or something much, much stranger? Whatever the truth, Mel and his bottomless pit disappeared without a trace. Some mysteries aren't about ghosts or hidden places, they're about people. June and Jennifer Gibbons were identical twins born in 1963, but from an early age it was clear they weren't like other children. They refused to speak to anyone but each other, creating their own secret language that no one else could understand. Teachers, family, even psychologists couldn't break through their silent bond. The only clues into their world came from their photographs. Strange, unsettling images where the two girls stared directly into the camera, their expressions unreadable. As they grew older, their behavior became more erratic. They wrote disturbing fiction, committed crimes, and were eventually institutionalized at Broadmoor Hospital, a high-security psychiatric facility. And then, something even more disturbing happened. The twins made a pact. One of them had to die so the other could live a normal life. No one knows exactly why, but Jennifer allegedly told June, "I have to die." Not long after she did. Mysteriously, without explanation. Doctors found no signs of illness or trauma, just an otherwise healthy young woman who simply stopped living. June, now alone, began speaking freely for the first time in her life. She never fully explained their pact, only hinting that Jennifer had given up her life so the other could be free. To this day, no medical cause has ever been identified for Jennifer's sudden death. That's about it. Write in the comments which photo surprised you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.